Hello. Oh, there we are. Good morning. I'm Illya McLellan. This is my show on Arrow, Behaviour on Arrow FM. 10:30. Sunday the 17th of October. What a beautiful day. It's a bit windy out in Wairarapa, which is Wairarapa, the land of glistening waters, I think it means. I think they might have misnamed it, personally. Should have been called the land of wind. It would have been a much more apt name for this region, because if there's one constant in Wairarapa, it's that wind, and you've got to get used to it. I mean, maybe we could chuck a few windmills up, like the Dutch, those beautiful big ones, not those horrible white monstrosities that adorn those hills over near Palmerston. They're they're not the most eye-catching features in the landscape, are they? They look like something out of a bad alien movie, or some sort of word that's all the rage now, dystopian. People love that word, don't they? Dystopian. Everything's dystopian these days, and what is it? End of the world, blah, 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 blah. The world's actually never been as safe as it is these days, despite what people will tell you. But yeah, check the statistics, check the data. Steven Pinker out of the US has done a couple of books on it, if you're interested in reading about how safe the world actually is now. I went and got my second jab yesterday. My arm's a little bit sore, but I did hear a pretty far-out conspiracy theory from someone saying that I had yesterday. Apparently, they've just put graphene oxide into me. But some of these theories that are going around. I mean, where do they come from? I think people have been reading like science fiction, and then Bill Gates is trying to bloody take over the world with AI, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've had enough of it all. This morning, I'm just going to play quite a lot of music that I've been listening to. I missed the last two shows. I was away, and I sort of didn't, I totally sort of didn't really have a plan in place. I should have pre-recorded my show on Friday or something, and then still could have gone out on Sunday, but I'm sure no one really missed it, because they do have the auto cue. But I'm pretty sure I play better music than the auto cue, and I'm going to start off today with a song, or a piece of music actually, I've been quite enjoying recently. It's by French EDM specialists, electronic dance music specialists, Daft Punk, and it's called Voyager, and it's a pretty funky number. Good one to start off my show on Sunday, and everyone else's Sunday. Hopefully, this show's going live out at all the churches in Wairarapa, so everyone can get up out of the pews and have a bit of a boogie to this one. Here it is. It's called Voyager by Daft Punk. Check it out. How's that? That's a lovely number for your Sunday morning, isn't it? Yeah, the big news for me this morning was another extremely poor showing from Manchester United, which I'm sure not many people out there are that concerned about, but I am. And I'd like you to all be concerned about it as well if you are listening. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, former player, well, he's a legendary player for United, actually, considering the contribution he made in winning the club's second European title in 1999. He scored the equaliser before Teddy Sheringham scored the winner, I think. Yeah, he's just not really up to the task of managing the club, and they slumped to a 4-2 defeat to Leicester City this morning, and unfortunately, I'm really hoping that that's it for Solskjaer. I'm hoping the board is just like, mate, come on, see you later, and they get Zidane or Conte in, because Conte and Zidane do have a discernible plan for how they're managing their teams. That's enough of my laments about Manchester United, though, this morning. I hope everyone's having a lovely Sunday. Isn't it? Hasn't it been? It's been an interesting week in terms of the weather was quite marvellous and Wairarapa this week, in that it was really quite cold, and then really quite hot, and then really quite hot and cold yesterday, because there was snow on the mountains, and then the sun was just blazing down. I felt like an ant under a magnifying glass yesterday for a little bit while I was sitting outside, and then I thought, this is too much, I have to go indoors. And I did, and I felt a lot better for it. Hats off to the people down at Carrington Park there who were running that vaccine thing yesterday. I thought they did a great job. It was, I was in and out of there within, 45 minutes or whatever, or slightly less, which I was quite happy about. And, now I'm double vaxxed, so I think I was jokingly saying to someone the other night that now I can just go catch COVID and then I'll have ultimate protection of the vaccine plus COVID. But I don't think anyone wants to deliberately catch COVID. But yeah, well, they were in Europe, weren't they, for a while? There were a lot of people having COVID parties and so on, I think, for young people. And I think that sort of worked out for them over there in a funny way. They've opened most places back up, and they seem to be going pretty well. But yeah, I think everyone's sick of hearing about COVID, to be honest. But I've got some more music to play this morning, which is this is another bit of electronic music that I quite like. It's by an artist called Baby, spelt capital B-A-B, lowercase I-I. And the track is named Shadow. It's a nice little number. It's got some good, lovely vocals in it, and some good sounds. So, check this one out.
I'll be with you when the sky turns gray from blue. I'm slipped into you when the clouds follow you. sky is lit up with lightning, and that's all that you will ever be.
Right, that was Shadow by Baby. Yeah, not a bad little track, that one, is it? Some lovely noises. And that's what you want from a song or a piece of music. You want some nice noises that you enjoy, because we humans do enjoy nice noises. It's one thing we've worked out over the past 10,000 or so years. I do wish that we could hear a bit of caveman music, see what it was like, whether it was just like hitting some sticks together, bit of grunting, maybe a bit of like humming, possibly, from the cavemen. They probably made like a drum out of like a mammoth skin drum, woolly mammoth. Yeah, the old caveman days, eh? We've come a long way. Yeah, so another thing that I was going to mention this morning was how it was something quite interesting, and it's just completely slipped my mind. It was a story that I read. I'll remember it in a moment. And in the meantime, I'll play another track that I've heard recently, and it's by an artist called Deadmau5, who was really quite popular around maybe, I don't know, 2007 to about 2012. I think he's possibly still popular. He plays gigs and festivals with like this weird mouse mask helmet thing on, which is, yeah, COVID friendly as it turns out for him, possibly. Is quite well regarded. I quite like some of his music. I'm not a fan of all of it, but this particular track that I'm going to play is called Animal Rights, and it's a real goodie. It's got some really excellent weird sounds in it that are quite compelling. It's a bit of a dance floor number. You can sort of, what I like to think of with this track is that you could probably, get people doing like a version of the twist, which was a popular dance, as people might know, in sort of the 50s and 60s, I'm pretty sure. But I'm pretty sure you could actually do a version of the twist to this track. So see if you can hear what I mean when I play this. Here it is. It's Animal Rights by Deadmau5. Oh goodness, I've gone out of the track there. Here it is. Check it out. Yes, that was Dead Mouse with Animal Rights. He made that in conjunction with another artist called Wolfgang Gartner. Yeah, I quite like that track. It's got a suitable amount of weird noises, good ones. Yeah, so there was. I remembered the thing I was going to mention. It was there's a book I heard about called by an American journalist called Michael Schellenberger, called Apocalypse Never, which sounds like a pretty interesting read. And he really is breaking down the danger of this sort of climate alarmism, sort of environmental alarmism, he calls it, and why it is such a dangerous way of trying to approach this problem of climate change, which he doesn't doubt that there is climate change caused by humans, but he's just saying that some of the statements that have come out about billions of people dying very soon and so on are just actually just a type of alarmism, or over the top, and that it is actually more dangerous to tell people that the problem is that bad, because it almost makes people give up in their own minds, and whereas if you were to be more sensible about making changes that could lessen human impacts on the environment, then it's a far better way of approaching the problem than saying to people that, billions of people are going to die in 2030, which is by 2030 or start dying. And it sounds like I've had a brief look at the book online, or what I could look at, and heard him talk about it, and I really think he's got some really valid points in terms of like the way that people have been talking about climate change, and it's it's all very well to be concerned about the impact we've had on the environment, and I'm not trying to underplay that and say that, you know, I'm not one of these climate change deniers, but it is worth looking at in a more sensible manner, I think. And I'm actually going to get that audiobook and have a listen to it over the next few days at work. And I'm looking forward to that, just to be able to have a better idea of, you know, the situation as it stands. Worth taking a look at if you're interested in looking at both sides of the equation, which I personally am. I don't believe in putting all your eggs in one basket, and I don't think anyone should, to be honest. It's a dangerous place to go. So got more music. I don't have an interview today. I've got some interviews I'm lining up via email with people that should be pretty good. Hopefully can get some people into the studio, depending on what happens with this the thing that everyone the COVID thing. But I was thinking of starting my own old-style comedy show where I did 3 different voices, but the problem with that is that there is actually the camera here, sort of, and it records me for the YouTube channel. So people would see that I was doing different voices, and then it wouldn't be quite as authentic. But I mean, I suppose for people listening, I mean, if I were to start doing 3 different characters, it'd be like the old BBC shows, which is what I'm hoping to emulate. Like what was it called? The Gong Show? Was that the Spike Milligan one? The Goon Show, yeah, Gong Show. The Goon Show. I've actually got a book of with the scripts from the Goon Show in it at home. Spike Milligan was a hero of mine in my youth. Big fan of old Spike, particularly Bad Jelly the Witch. Favourite of mine. But yeah, I did have another song I was going to play now. Just need to cue it up here. And yeah, we're going to step back a bit from the EDM, electronic music, for now, and play an oldie but a goodie from none other than Led Zeppelin. Check this one out. Bring It On Home. Remastered. From Robert Plant and the Lads. Here it is. Bring It On Home, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, it's good, yeah. Led Zeppelin, Bring It On Home. Yeah, they did a lot to promote US style blues music by sort of mimicking it really well and adding their own sort of rock and roll interpretation to it, also based on American music. Yeah, they quite well regarded, Led Zeppelin, aren't they? Anyway, here's another piece of music I heard recently that I thought was pretty cool, and I quite enjoyed it. It's by these artists that I've actually never heard of. They're guitarists. Their names are Birelli Lagrane and Sylvain Luke, and this is a cover of Stevie Wonder, Isn't She Lovely? Yeah, it's quite cool. It's guitar music. I'm pretty sure they're classical guitarists, but yeah, check this one out. It's quite enjoyable. Yeah, that's not too bad, eh? Quite like that one. Yeah, there was something else interesting I saw this week was they've discovered an old clay tablet at the British Museum of Antiquity, 3,500 years old, a drawing of a ghost with instructions on how to get rid of ghosts. And the guy who was doing the press release, what was his name again? What was his name? Dr. Irving Finkel. He was just talking about how it was a pretty spectacular find in the vault there, and quite interesting and funny that they had found this. It's sort of really well rendered. So what would you call it? A piece of art, really. I mean, I suppose it wasn't a piece of art when it was created. It was actually they were creating a resource for people to get rid of ghosts. Quite funny. It's that article's on The Guardian if anyone out there wishes to have a closer look at it. I found it to be quite interesting, quite cool. I like that sort of thing. And he was mentioning that, Hollywood always seems to do things about Egypt, and Egypt's sort of like the Mummy and so on and things like that. But he said that Babylonian history is equally as interesting and as equally as dark and sort of imaginative stories wrapped up in it. The Babylonians, of course, were in modern-day Iraq, and it's cradle of civilization. One of the cradles of civilization there, the Babylonians. People who are familiar with biblical history or mythology will remember that the Babylonians figure quite prominently in the Old Testament. I always liked Nebuchadnezzar. I thought he was sounded like a good stick. And I think he was the one who went mad, and he went out in the desert for a few years and found himself, came back. Then he was a king again. Good story, that one. I've always liked that sort of riches to rags to riches story of Nebuchadnezzar. And Babylonian history, great. I mean, I really do. It is really sad what has gone on for the Iraqi people over the past 4 or 5 decades. They had that lunatic in charge, and then the world decided that it was enough and went in there. And then George Bush, and I did hear an American general recently on a podcast. What was his name again? Really interesting fellow who was a former fighter pilot in Vietnam. He ended up as chief of staff for Obama, I think. What was his name? Merrill McPeak. Really interesting fellow, General McPeak. Great podcast on, if people listen to podcasts, I'd recommend definitely listening to this one just because of, some of the stuff he says is just quite astounding, really. It's called A 4-Star Conversation on Dan Carlin's Hardcore History Addendum podcast. And Dan Carlin, former prominent TV journalist in the United States, has been doing podcasts for around, 10, 12, maybe longer, 15 years now. Probably one of the better podcasts in the world, I think, personally, just the level of detail that he goes into. And he has a really good research team, and they really, really get down to the nuts and bolts of things that they research. Like, they don't really... No stone left unturned with Dan Carlin and his team. But yeah, he was talking to Merrill McPeak about the Vietnam War, and then also things that occurred later, like the second invasion of Iraq, and how McPeak was heavily involved with the Republican Party around that time. And in his military, from his military sort of position of quite extensive knowledge, he was totally against what Bush and Cheney proposed around that second Iraq invasion, and he ended up cutting ties with the Republicans over it. And he has some pretty scathing things to say about people like Dick Cheney and Bush, and that they were suits who'd never stepped foot on a battlefield, and yet they were quite willing to send thousands of men to die. And he was highly critical of their decision to do that. Interesting chat, that one. I'd recommend people have a listen. I was quite I was really happy that I found that, actually, and listened to it recently. He also talked about the incompetency in the high command during the Vietnam War. Like the strategy was he regarded the strategy as stupid from General Westmoreland, and he was flying jets for the United States at the time. I think he flew some crazy amount of missions in the Vietnam War, but he said that the entire strategy was just not well thought out, and cost a lot of lives that didn't need to die, he said, and that the American army was not prepared for the type of war that Vietnam was. They were not prepared for a war fought in swamps and jungles, despite being the most well-equipped army in the world at that time. Going into swamps and jungles was just a desperate mistake, and they should have actually, if they wanted to engage in such a war, they needed to learn how to fight it before they did it. And then, really, really interesting podcast. Actually, I think it's only like an hour long. I'd highly recommend people have a listen to that one. It certainly impressed me. General McPeak sounds like a really lovely person, actually, for a career soldier. It's sort of something you don't generally equate with people in the military, that they're so measured and interesting, and he seems like, after listening to it, I thought, well, I'd love to sit down for a chat with that guy. He sounds a very interesting man. So got some more music to play here. It's actually, I'm going to go back to a bit of electronic music this morning, with a live version of Another Planet, which is a Pendulum number. I don't know how many Arrow listeners would be familiar with Pendulum, but they're sort of a big electronic dance music sort of band, around over the sort of past 20 years, maybe 15 years. Actually, I mean, possibly, it might be a bit of an assault on the senses, but I don't know, it could be a good assault for some people. It's not that long a track. It's only 4 or 5 minutes. Check it out. It's called Another Planet. It's live at Brixton Academy in London. I don't know what year. Maybe like 2008, I think. I'm 100% sure. No, it just says live at the Brixton Academy. I think it was around that time, sort of that. But check this one out. Another Planet, Pendulum, live at Brixton Academy.
Taking you out, taking you beyond. Time to make Brixton tremor. Time to make the dance floor quake. Nobody lazy. Everybody with us tonight, yeah? Is that a fucking yes? Seriously, if you're standing still, you're in the wrong place. We don't do half measures. We're coming to give you the real deal. You ready? So we're feeling the new generation. Believe it.
Yeah, that's Pendulum with Another Planet live at Brixton a few years ago. I think it was like 2008 possibly. Yeah, that would have been a good show, good fun show. A lot of dancing, I bet. Yeah, I think that was DJ... oh, goodness, I've forgotten his name. He did a lot of work with Pendulum. No, that's a shame. I've actually forgotten his name. Yeah, but Pendulum were a very sort of prominent electronic music group for a number of years there, and had some big singles that people might be familiar with, like Tarantula and what was that other one? Can't quite remember, but yeah, good either way. Yeah, check them out if you're not familiar. Yeah, so we're coming into summer finally, and I'm looking forward to taking a swim soon in the river, even though I think at the moment the river would be pretty cold, looking at the snow up on the mountains, which is yeah, but yeah, it is almost swim time, which is a good time. Sun time, swim time. I've got another song that I was going to play here, a bit more of a chilled out number that I'm a fan of, an album that I actually bought at the music store on a CD. So yeah, it was actually, when did I buy that? 2005. So yeah, 16 years ago now I got this album. And this track always was a standout on the album for me. I just think it's a lovely piece of music. It's by an incarnation of artists called Tosca, and the track is Honey. Yeah, check this one out. Yeah, so that's Honey by Tosca. Album that came out a while back, 2003 or something, possibly, maybe earlier. Not a bad album, a good background music album. If you're having a dinner party or something, I always thought that music. I mean, I didn't mind listening to it, maybe on a nice sunny afternoon, relaxing on the deck or something, when I was at my parents' house many years ago, eating copious amounts of navel oranges in the sun. But I did have another podcast to recommend, and that is the Film Spotting podcast, which is run by these two guys, Adam Kempener and Josh. Goodness, what's his name? Josh Larson. My partner, my lovely fiance Emma Jane, put me onto this podcast, and I have to say, hats off to Emma for finding this podcast, because it is really, really good. And the one they are currently doing a review of all of Jane Campion's work, and in preparation for the release of her latest film, Power of the Dog, which I think has been going around this what are they called, like the film, I don't know, like the festival circuit at the moment, and getting really, really good reviews, actually, apparently. Sounds like Jane Campion's done it again. I'm a big fan of her work. I really like The Piano. I think it's a great movie. And a couple of others of hers that I've seen. I think she really is an interesting and talented filmmaker that perhaps in some ways almost doesn't get the recognition she deserves in New Zealand. I don't think, anyway. I was so close to getting a job on that movie, Power of the Dog. I really regret missing out on it. I actually phoned the construction manager probably about 2 hours too late before he'd hire, or a day too late before he'd actually hired about 20 people the day before, I think, or organised for 20 people to be hired. And unfortunately, I made that phone call a day too late, so I missed out on working on that, which I would have been pretty stoked to get that job. A friend of mine got on there, a couple of friends got on there, and they said it was a really cool production to be a part of. I do recommend this Film Spotting podcast for people out there who are interested in listening to podcasts. They really are aficionados of cinema, Josh Larson and Adam Kempener, and they do go into a lot of detail, and they're big fans of film, which is always makes a podcast better, I find. It's like with someone like Dan Carlin, he's a huge fan of history. That's why his history podcast is so good. These guys are huge film fans, and they really do watch a lot of film and really have the knowledge of the history of cinema to be able to dissect and analyse film. And one review of theirs I did listen to recently was they were doing, because they're going through Jane Campion's back catalogue, they were talking about An Angel at My Table, and it got me thinking about Janet Frame, and they were talking about just what a prolific writer Janet Frame was, and also the fact that she was actually, in the psychiatric unit, and she was scheduled to be lobotomized, which is just insane, isn't it? Like, I mean, to think that was a thing, how that ever became a thing to do is just, wow, so creepy. You think of all the people who were lobotomized, and perhaps, there were other people, much like Janet Frame, who were potentially brilliant artists with so much amazing stuff to share with the world, and just had that taken away just like that because of some bizarrely thought out medical procedure. She was apparently a week away from being lobotomized, and then a collection of short stories won a national prize And they were like, oh, hang on a minute. Perhaps we shouldn't lobotomise this amazing writer. And luckily they didn't, because she went on to produce a huge catalogue of work over several decades, and became, I mean, arguably New Zealand's greatest writer. I mean, I'm sure there would be arguments for and against that, but yeah. I mean, I've only read a few of her short stories in one book, but hearing that podcast the other day made me want to listen to read more, and I'm going to. But yeah, excellent podcast, and that's one thing about a good podcast. It can really stir your mind in a certain direction, and I've certainly been reinvigorated in terms of looking into Janet Frame's work, and you know, and got me thinking about what an amazing artist she was, and how close we were to losing her because of you know, the mental health system, which is, you know, still a pretty flawed thing in New Zealand. But yeah, I think things are getting better, aren't they? Or better than they were in the 1950s and 60s anyway, that's for sure. But yeah, after that sort of sobering bit of dialogue, we can chuck on another song. And I did find some other music the other day that I thought was pretty cool. There's this one. Where is it? It's called Crazy Feels by Pep. And yeah, check this song out. It's pretty, I think it's pretty decent. I'll chuck it on. I think Pep is the name of the band. I'm not really familiar with them. I just ran into this track online on a playlist I was listening to. So see what you think. Here it is. Crazy Feels, Pep. Oh yeah, that's right. This is Emma Jane's song. Great vocals. Cool track. They're an Australian group, I think.
You gotta do what you have to do to make it easy for you. Easy for you.
Going out to Janet Frame.
Easy. There's an ache in my chest that I gotta get. Come on out of me now. I gotta get it out now. Gotta let it out. I gotta let it out now. But I'm still. When the call comes, can you please take it? When you answer, please don't fake it. If you lose it, I can replace it. Can you live up to the expectation? I can't hear any hesitation. I give it to you, you treat it right. I can't help much about the way I feel. And that feeling that you're gonna shoot through, and it's looking like you just might. I held my breath as you rolled it tight. Control to you, try to find the light. Then I burned my head out of smoke you rolled, and this is what it sounded like. You've gotta do what you have to do to make it easy for you. Easy for you. Just for you. Easy. When it's on, it's on, it's on by you. When I say it's on you, tell me it's through. You won't come over and over and over again. I've always gotta go to you. When the call comes, I can't escape it. What you're giving, am I gonna take it? It's fragile and I'm gonna break it. hesitation. I don't know why, no explanation. I wanna give up, but I don't know how. Why don't you show me now? I had a feeling that you were gonna shoot through, and I'm gonna make sure that you do. What did you want when you wanted it then? It feels like the end and it happens again. I had a feeling that things ain't been right, and they're gonna get worse if I don't give up the fight. Don't stop the
Yeah, it's a lovely track, that one. I really do like that. I really enjoy her vocals. And, yeah, cool band. Oh, Pep. I haven't actually heard enough of them, to be honest. I'm only really familiar with that track, and I think one other that I'd heard. Emma Jane got onto them when we were living in Melbourne. I think she heard them on Triple R, which is a great radio station there in Melbourne. Shout out to Triple R. I went in there and interviewed their station manager when I was doing journalism school at Macleay College in Melbourne, actually. And, yeah, it was a cool station. I actually was going to do a show on there, but I sort of ummed and ahed about it and then didn't actually do it. Got sort of sidetracked by other things. Yeah, so coming up to the end of the show, I think I'll play a couple more tracks. I think I could go back to something I've played earlier this year now, and I'm not going to go with symphonic death metal this morning, unfortunately, for those listeners out there who are pining for some. But I am going to go with this track here by Mudhoney, who are a band that I was a fan of in my my glorious youth in Hastings, in Flaxmere, in Havelock North, and Napier. Getting about the place, discovering the world. This is Mudhoney. Touch Me, I'm Sick. Turn it up. It's a goodie.
I'm a creep, yeah.
Sorry about the language, I forgot about that bit. Yeah, that's Mudhoney. Touch Me, I'm Sick. Big Fuzzy Guitars. That song's actually from an album called Super Fuzz Big Muff, which is an interesting name for an album, you might say. Big Fuzzy Guitars, though, always like that sort of distortion sound that Mudhoney had. And his vocal, I quite like the tone of his voice. I've always liked that guy's voice. He's got a cool voice. They did a good track on the Judgment Night soundtrack with a hip-hop group. I can't remember who exactly they were with, but it was a cool track. If you're looking for some music to listen to on your Sunday afternoon, check out the Judgment Night soundtrack. Some classic sort of a crossover album with sort of rock metal bands doing collaborations with hip-hop artists. And it really worked out well, actually. That's probably one of the only film soundtracks that I still occasionally play. We're coming up to the end of the show, so after Touch Me, I'm Sick, and that obscene language that everyone was just disturbed by, I'm sorry about that. I forgot that bit had that swearing bit at the end there. I could have tried to beep it out by just going beep when you said it, but I hope that didn't offend anyone too much. But anyway, here's a number, a more of a chilled out number to take us out of the show towards the end of it. And this is an old track as well. Probably came out around the same time as that last one, but definitely a different tone and feeling to it. This is Hummer by the Smashing Pumpkins. Lovely little number by Billy and company there. Check this one out. yeah, so that's it. From Smashing Pumpkins, Hummer. That was the song I just played, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah, good one, that one. I really do enjoy that sort of outro guitar, which is just a lovely, lovely piece of music. That sort of Siamese Dream, Smashing Pumpkins, that album, an album that sort of cemented their place in I don't know, what would you say, the music industry as a big player. Like they had albums before that people who are fans consider to be better than that album, but that album really sort of broke them out into the world quite a lot. Siamese Dream. It had it's just, I mean, I don't think there's a bad song on that album, which is always a sign of a talented group of musicians. They did have some good albums before that, though. Pisces Iscariot and Gish among them. Particular. I've always enjoyed that track, Hummer. I think it's got a lot of different elements that make it up into the overall sort of complete package. So coming up to the end of the show, we're pretty much there. It's been a lovely morning. I'm glad I got to share a bit of music with people. I hope that people out there enjoyed it. I hope we have a good week and that we don't. We get along. Summertime. How bad can it be? Have a good week, everyone, and maybe read some Janet Frame if you get a chance, or if you want to listen to a cool podcast, listen to that one on Dan Carlin Hardcore History Addendum about where he interviews General McPeak. That's very enlightening piece of media, that one. I really did enjoy hearing what McPeak had to say about Vietnam and the Second Iraq War, and just about the US military position in general. I mean, that's definitely hearing it from the horse's mouth, a guy who has been the chief of staff for a President Obama, I'm pretty sure he was, and and he has actually flown like something like 200 combat missions in the Vietnam War, which is he's been there, done that in a lot of ways, and he didn't mince words, and I quite enjoy interviews like that where people really don't hold anything back. But but that's it. So have a great Sunday, everyone, and I hope everyone has a lovely week, and I'll be back next weekend, Sunday morning, 10:30. Take it easy.
Cause I know your body.